the portal is finally finished. BC is starting their spring semester, and the entire roster has been completely flipped. Did BC do enough? We'll have to talk about where things stand.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you're looking for Boston College news, analysis, and details, you're in the right spot. Locked On BC is a free daily Boston College podcast available here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, on today's show, we're going to dive into questions that you have about we all have about this roster. After 26 transfers have come in, how does the roster stand? And what questions still remain? So this is not going to just be diving into every player. Now that things have kind of settled, let's get into some of the big questions. And the biggest question I think that is on everyone's mind when you are looking at the transfer portal haul is the quarterback position. Did BC do enough? Did they bring in the right guys to really fix this quarterback spot? Earlier, before the portal closed, we learned that Dylan Lonergan was going to enter the portal. Bill O'Brien said on his podcast that there was a difference of opinion on what his role was going to be, basically, and Lonergan left. Now he's at Rutgers, and we're going to get to play him in a couple of weeks. That's going to be fun, right? Oh, coming in, I think everyone, a lot of fans out there, really wanted a marquee quarterback, somebody that can jump in and command this offense. And the name that popped up over and over and over again was Deuce Knight. Now, Chris Hummer of 247/CBS had in his, breakdown that BC was really hard after Deuce, and that's what I heard too. He didn't get here. You ended up with a guy that the staff really, really like, in Grayson, Mason MacKenzie, and Grayson Wilson. But I think we're talking questions here. This is the question that's going to drive me crazy for the next 8 months. Is Mason MacKenzie ready to be a power 4 quarterback? Now, the staff, they're effusive that he is. They're saying over and over again that he is, and he's got other power 4 offers, and there's a lot of interest in him from around the world. I need to see it. His statistics, there's things about it that are exciting. He ran for almost 1,000 yards last year. That's crazy. He had, I think, 10 rushing touchdowns. Threw a lot of interceptions, though. But there's lots of factors in quarterbacking, especially when you're in a D2 school, that can impact you. So he was player of the year for that conference, which Bill O'Brien has brought up a million times because the guy before him was Trinidad Chambliss. What happened with him this year? So the big question, though, is if it's him, if it's Grayson Wilson, is it one of the freshmen? Which of these quarterbacks is going to be able to step up and really not have that learning curve? You have a tough schedule next year. You're starting the season off against Cincinnati. This is not your Duquesne and Fordham. You're playing a power 4 team. So when I hear that, you're going to have to play a quarterback that has 0 FBS snaps, and that's all of them, I'm a little worried. I get questions. I need to see it. So that's going to be a big piece of that. And how that new offensive coordinator, whether it's somebody internally or if they bring someone else in, how are they going to the big question for me is how are they going to best utilize what they do? Because for 2 years now, we've heard about how Bill O'Brien wants to put together a pro-style offense. Yeah, he wants his guys moving around a lot, but 2024, we saw him put Tommy Castellanos in a box. That didn't work all that well. And last year, we saw Dylan Lonergan, who didn't really run all that much. Now you have Wilson, you have Mason MacKenzie, and Femi Babalola, and I think Anthony Cole is pretty mobile too. How is this offensive coordinator going to make them, mobile? How are they going to use this so they're not just forcing back there like Lawing did, and force them to pass constantly. Like, you got to use their legs. This is a big question for me. How is this going to happen? That's my first big question. My next question is, well, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to kind of bat it around here a little bit. The edge rusher. BC last year, you got a couple, like, what was it, 3.5, 4.5 sacks out of Quintavious Hutchins. And you got one maybe from like Favorite Bate and one here or there. But that position really struggled after Donovan Azaraku's graduation. You did not have anybody on your roster that could really be your standout edge rusher. You didn't have anybody that could go after the quarterback consistently. And so what did Tim Lewis, the defensive coordinator at the time, do? He blitzed like crazy from big parts of the season, because if he was going to get any sort of pass rush, you had to send extra guys. Now, there's players on that roster, I think, from last year that you just assume are going to continue to mature. Like I mentioned, Favorite Bate, Elo Boykin, Anya Nuisi. These are guys that I think were more projects. You need a more seasoning. So Bill has said over and over again that he's very excited about this group. So that group, if they can take that next step, that's great. But you have to go out there and you needed to bring in other names as well. And so the first one that he brought in was a big kid, and that is Demetrius Butler, 6'5" edge rusher from Buffalo. He had 2.5 sacks last year, 250 pounds. This is a big kid. And, he played pretty well. He wasn't a starter, but he's played a lot that last year. So he could be a really good find for you. Like, I like the potential there. It's good size, good power. That's great. The other one that you brought in was Chris Jones from Georgia. Now, Chris Jones, if you look at a lot of lists, he's listed as a linebacker. He's going to be an edge. He's going to be an edge rusher. He also is 6'4", a blue chip recruit. And listen, he went to Georgia. Georgia puts together some of the craziest defenses that you can think of. So if he didn't get a chance to play a ton, and he didn't play a ton there, that's okay. That's fine. If he's still good, that's all that matters. So you bring these two guys in, right? That's your portal haul at the edge. And for some folks, you were hoping to get a guy with a nice gaudy. There were some edge rushers out there that had some nice sack numbers, and you were hoping that maybe one of those guys would end up at Boston College, takes this defensive line. You didn't really get the gaudy numbers, but you got two guys that I think are very intriguing that could really step up. So you're going into next year, and you don't have a clear answer yet, though. Last year's pass rush was abysmal. It just was not. It didn't, they could get pressure, but it really set them up to fail because you couldn't get a base one-on-one matchup win anywhere on that line. You had to send extra guys, which put your young corners and young safeties in bad situations. It just continued to cycle, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And then boom, you're letting good quarterbacks pick you apart. So it's a big question for me. I have to say, I'm not sure. I'm not sure here. We'll have to wait and see. Did they do enough? Because if they didn't, that's a big problem for next year. You have a new defensive coordinator in Ted Roof, some new names and some guys that have seasoned a little bit more. You got to figure out a way to get some more pass rush. If you can do that, that's a big step in the right direction for BC. Like, they need that badly, and it will really help their defense play at a better level. But you got to get there. And getting a guy from Buffalo and a guy from Georgia it's exciting, but it's still a question to me. It's still something that is not proven. And there's a lot of opportunities for it to prove themselves. You lost Edwin Kalengi, you lost, Hutchins to the draft, but there's a lot of guys. If they really step up, they'll be okay. But that's a question mark. Right? Now, in our our second segment, I want to look at two skill positions for BC, and I want to look at, did they replace a lot of explosive talent with good enough talent? We'll talk about what those look like in just a moment. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode, and every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. You can open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you have to apply, and then get more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make you feel bets that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go even into bigger payouts. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here, and we're talking about the BC transfer portal haul and looking at the questions that still remain. And I think it's important to say that they have a lot of room that they got to catch up on, right? You know, they went 2-10 last year. They played the middle of that season was absolutely miserable, but they got to need to step up, get better. They're trying by basically hitting the reset button on the entire roster. 49, I think it was 49 or 50 players are going to be brand new. And, you know, who knows what they're going to do with those two spots that just opened up with Owen Stodmeyer entering the portal, and Kevin Hume, the cornerback, is no longer coming to Boston College. They have two more spots that they can, you know, maybe get a summer enrollee or a freshman. Who knows what they're going to do with those? They got to fill them though. That's a question itself. And honestly, I kind of just buried the lead there. So let's get into a quick question before I get into the next segment. Kevin Humes was a cornerback from St. Francis Academy in Maryland University who is signed to come to BC. Now, he was there. They put up the graphic. He practiced, you know, from what I heard, he worked out with the team, and now he's gone. And you can read into it whatever way you want. It was not a money thing. And now he's going to Rutgers. So you lost a player. And you can figure, you know, guess what you want to guess. I'm not going to get into it because I can't. But he's gone. And that's a big loss for BC. And, you know, at cornerback, this is a position that hopefully the young guys step up because they brought in a ton last year and then they got hurt. But you're going to have Zaire Torrance, who got hurt. Max Tucker and Isaiah Ferris, who played a lot last year. And Max Tucker was playing with a broken elbow, which I complain when I have a hangnail and he's playing with a broken elbow. But you have a lot of young guys, too, that I think are supposed to step up. And I think Hume was going to come in and be your slot corner, right? You had TJ Green, true freshman last year, doing that. This is a kid that's been around for 3-4 years. He would have been experienced. Now you lose it. That's tough. That's a tough loss for BC. You didn't bring in you brought in the kid from Chandler Jordan from Georgia State, but he's kind of a safety corner hybrid. I'm not sure how they're going to use him, but you don't really have any corners. So this is something you're going to have to fill. And the talent there, I would have felt better if it was Zaire Torrance and Amari Jackson. I'll tell you that. But you're going to really have to hope that one of these younger kids at this point, either these younger kids or a healthy Max Tucker is going to step up, because you're not, I don't see that group as very deep. There's a lot of names there, but it's not very deep. So that'll be something to watch for as well. The running back position. This is where everything started going haywire in the portal. Because it, to me, seemed pretty clear what happened, where Turbo Richard enters the transfer portal, and within 24 hours, Indiana has this crystal ball's up for Indiana to take him, and he's committed like January 2nd right on the bat. I'm not going to call it tampering, but right here, but say what you will. It sure seems that way, doesn't it? That he made that decision that fast. So losing Turbo is big, because I thought Turbo was on the verge of having a huge year this year. Let's not paint him as this perfect running back, because he definitely wasn't. He had fumble issues. He ran really well at times, but other times he would, run into his linemen and stuff like that, which was offensive line issues too. But I thought he was really primed to have a breakout year, and now he's going to go play for the national champions. So you lose him. But the question that's just losing him isn't the question. The question is, can Evan Dickens be your 3-down back like Bill O'Brien called him? This guy ran for almost 1,400 yards, had 16 touchdowns just last season. The crazy part of his statistics is that Dickens did all of that in like almost 1,000 of his 1,400 yards came in November. Most of his touchdowns did. So he really has only been a starter for 1 month. On one hand, that's crazy that he did all that. Yes, it was against a Conference USA schedule. Yes, you're playing teams like FIU and they're terrible, whatever. But putting up those types of numbers is not easy. On the other hand, can he hold together doing that kind of thing for 3 months? He did it for a month. But the big question is, can Evan Dickens be your every down back for an entire season? And what kind of back will he be able to be? He doesn't have the super explosiveness that Turbo did, but he's still quick enough and he's still elusive enough that he could give you a lot there. So I'm wondering, I honestly think Nolan Ray will be the other transfer you brought in, will be a perfect fit to take over for Jordan McDonald, who graduated. Like, they're basically a wash. Like, look at their stats. They're like pretty much identical. So you'll be fine there. You have Dickens, and you really need him to be your big guy. But you have some young guys that you're looking to maybe one of them could step up. I know Bo McCormick had a good summer last year. He played special teams as a true freshman, had a couple of runs. Mekhi Dodd, we didn't really see much of him at all. And then Cedric Addison, true freshman, coming in. So can all of these guys really, do you have a home run hitter in there? McDonald was never really a home run hitter. He was more like where the defense down kind of running back. But who on that roster, need the explosiveness? You need to find somebody in that group that can be explosive, because that's what Turbo did, and you lost that. And that was the part that really stunk. So I look at this group, and my big question is, how will Evan Dickens' run attack translate from going from Conference USA to the ACC? If he has good blocking, if this offensive line plays well, and if they will, if that offensive line plays well, they're gonna be okay. They're gonna be good, and we'll have to see which of these guys kind of step up. But I think it's a fair question to say you're jumping from playing against FIU to playing against Notre Dame to playing against Florida State. You know what I'm saying here, right? Like, it's gonna be tougher for him. But he was recruited by Georgia Tech for a reason. Evan Dickens was recruited by Georgia Tech. So I think that's going to be something we're going to watch for. That's a big question for me. And, I think looking at those younger running backs, will they step up as well? Now, in our final segment, I got some other questions. I've got a bunch. And I'm going to look at the offense, and I'm going to look at the defense, and I'm going to tell you two final questions that I have about this roster, and I'll give you all that in just a moment. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get your updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives you real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, folks. If you have not done so already, I want to tell you all about my Everydayers Club because I got some real cool cats that are out there that have become part of it and have joined. If you want to join our basic tier, and it's a cool thing to do, you get in real cheap. The deals are in the notes. You get ad-free shows. Cut out all my lovely ad reads. Sure, some of you would love to have that, right? You're going to get access to our Discord. And if you don't know what Discord is, it's basically like your group chat that you have with all your friends that you complain and make jokes about BC all the time. We're building one. You could get access to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. You also will get other perks as they come along. If you really are an OG here, if you are loving the life here at Locked On BC and you just want more of me, if my BC stuff is just stuff you cannot live without, and I know that, don't lie to yourself. I know you do. You want to become part of our all access tier. I do special episodes. I did one on Kenyatta Watson's recruiting strategy. I did a 10-minute episode, and I'm going to do another one tomorrow on what does BC do with these 2 slots that just opened up because of portal issues. I have thoughts on that, and I also have thoughts on the portal that I'm going to talk about. That if you haven't joined up, you're going to miss out on it. You don't want to miss out on that. Get in there. You also get texting with me. You get the Discord as well. For all the things I said before, it's a really cool service. Check it out. Details are in the show notes, or go to superstream.lockedonbostoncollege.com. Now, we have 2 other questions that remain. One of them isn't really a question as in like, is it going to work or not? Because I think what I'm talking about is going to work. I just have literally no clue how it's going to shake out. And that is the offensive line. You brought in 6 players. Owen Snively just announced today. BC just announced him coming in. You have all these new guys, Chris Phillips, Juju, Norwood from UNC, Reggie Jackson. There's a whole bunch of guys. And as Bill O'Brien said, they can play tackle, they can play guard. You also have Pape Sai. You have internal guys just like that. Who's going to be your starters? You're going to have to get 5 guys quick that you're going to feel ready to go with. That Kurt Anderson, your new offensive line coach, is ready to say they need to gel. Because I think that's going to be the big question, right? All these new names. You don't have the Jude Boweries and Logan Taylors anymore that just know the system. There's a lot of new faces there. Not only do we need to know where they land, how quickly can they start to know each other, bond, and work as a unit? Because that's a big question mark. When you bring in all of these guys from all over these places, they have to adapt. They have to adjust, and that could be tricky. So I'm just curious, when we get to summer camp, who are the 5? Michael Krauts will probably be one, but every other spot you can it's literally like a shoulder shrug, like, oh, and that's going to be a big question to watch. Who gets those starting spots? And then my last question is a encompassing question for the defense. I look at this defense. I like certain things that they did. The linebackers, for instance, I think are going to be much better than they had last year. I think the linebackers are very good. But I have to ask, you lost Omar Thornton, one of your best defensive players. You lost Amari Jackson, who I was really hoping would be back because I just like the way he plays. I know he's hurt the last 2 years, but I think he would have been good. You bring in all these new names. Did Boston College do enough on that defense to make them average? That's all I'm looking for. Like, they were a huge liability last year. Get them to average. So I don't know. That's a big question with the pass rush, with the cornerbacks. Their defensive line, do they have enough talent there? Did they do enough on this defensive side to make them average? And I don't know that answer. So that's something, again, I think is a big question mark. I think some of us were hoping that you would have a guy come out second in his defense. It could be Chris Jones. It definitely could be. But you're looking for someone that you're saying, okay, they got a star or a really established guy you can build it around. You don't know that, though. There's no one there that you're saying, oh, they can build that defense around them. KP Price will probably be that person, but you want, like the front seven, all question marks. Corners, question marks. Did they do enough? And I don't have that answer. So those are my questions for the portal. Do you agree with me? Do you have questions of your own? I'm looking to see if there's any comments because we are live. I have to wonder, did the big question is, did they do enough? They have a full rev share. They had money to go and spend, but did they do enough? We're going to have to wait to see, but this was my thoughts. I wanted to sit back and look at what the questions were going into this offseason. So thank you all. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe before you go. My name is AJ Black. Again, become part of our Dares Club. I'll have a special episode for all of those who have signed up. And I hope to see you again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.